All right, hello everyone. We're streaming the games Columbia University versus Stony Brook right now. So we're going to open up game one, which is a ZVZ, and I have with me Chris Musashi on the line.
Hi, how you doing? My name's Chris.
Alrighty, so do you have the replay loaded up, Chris?
I do in fact have it loaded, Ben.
Excellent, excellent. So you ready to start in 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, go.
All right, so ZVZ on Daybreak, and Chris, yourself, Zerg player.
I am a Zerg player.
Do you have any thoughts on ZVZ on Daybreak?
I do. My thought on ZVZ on Daybreak is that it should die because I hate playing it, and I just hate ZVZ in general. But I'm excited to see this ZVZ. I will say that.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff do you like to do on Daybreak when you do ZVZ?
Well, something I do is Ling Bailing all-ins are pretty popular in like the meta game, at least where I am in ladder. So I actually usually make an Evo chamber wall because it takes them so long to actually set up the all-in because it's really not a good map for it to begin with. And then I usually get to like drone pretty heavy behind it because I don't need to make like the same amount of units they make to defend. It usually works out sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that's pretty common on Daybreak is mutas. There's like a huge tendency to go mutas because it's such a big map and there's a lot of area you can negotiate quickly through with mutas. So you see that pretty commonly. I do not care for the style where you go 2 base, 4 gas mutas. It's kind of just annoying. So I tend not to do that here.
Yeah, and the spores are pretty effective on this map. There's not like you can move between the bases, but there's really not that many angles to attack from.
Absolutely. So before I forgot to announce the players. So up in the right-hand corner we have Null Pointer, the Zerg from Stony Brook, and the lower left we have Benji, the Zerg from Columbia. So right off with bat we see a scout coming from Stony Brook, and this scout, the general logic behind ZVZ is if you scout with a drone, you're either going to go 15 hatch and you need to see the pool timing because you might need to save your larva, or you're going to go into some sort of like early pool cheese. So those are the two signs. You see a drone scout. This guy, I think he's just a little bit off for the metagame. He decided to drone scout, so going pool first, which is a little bit unorthodox.
Yeah, whenever I see a drone early on in the game in ZVZ, I immediately start playing more cautiously. I know like something's going on.
Absolutely. So it did affect his build quite a bit actually. It would slow down his hatch. It slowed down his production. And we see that he kind of falls a little bit far behind from that. So
yeah, it's true. He's moving his overlord away a little bit early. There's no reason to really do that right now, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
No, yeah. The two key positions to get your overlords on Daybreak are here and here, because you can see any movement from Zerglings. So if you see like Zerglings come down here, you have plenty of time to react and get banelings and get any reaction you might need ahead of time. Just putting queens to block the ramp. So these are the key positions to have your overlords in.
This is an interesting map for ZVZ because I feel like it almost always turns out to be like a battle for the third base. How do you feel about that?
That's absolutely true, yeah. I mean, especially on this map, because the natural is so easy to protect, so you can't really do a lot of aggression early on. You must,
Right.
yeah, like the aggression comes in the form of either going mutas or taking the third bases. There's like a lot of contention over that, and with kind of a big attack path over here, it's about who can get up to the third faster, and you definitely want to position yourself such a way that you can establish your third. So usually, players take a little bit later of a third.
What do you think the dynamic in ZVZ is like when one player sees another person take their third and they haven't done that yet? Do you think it's usually like I'm going to take my third right away, or do you think there's an essence of, I'm going to punish them for taking that third?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the timing. It definitely depends. If they get it really early, you want to punish it. If they get it at an appropriate time and you're just a little bit behind, I think you just take your own third. But you always want to contest it, I think. You don't want to just let someone drone crazy. You always want to be in a position where you can contest it. And the units that Zerg can get to fight other Zerg units are so strong that it's just like, if they're behind on units, they're really going to struggle. So usually that third timing comes up around the same time that you're getting roach speed and you're getting your first upgrade, like either armor or attack. So that's the time you want to hit the third. Now this player decided to go with 2 queens, actually going to 3 queens, which is pretty safe, but you see it puts him really far behind in the drones. He's actually 8 drones behind right now, which is not great. And his macro is struggling a little bit. But he does get...
I was just gonna say, if you look at his larva count, it's I mean he just used a bunch, but at the same time, like he really should have used a creep tumor earlier because he couldn't support the amount of larvae he was producing off the two bases anyway. So he had a bunch of larvae sitting around doing nothing for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see just basically powering up right now. This is kind of the usual time to get to lair, get 3 gases or 4 gases if you're going to mutas. And you know that if there's no Zergling aggression, you just continue to power up. And it's so easy to scout the Zergling aggression on this map with the overlord placement that you don't really have to be cautious and kind of plan for something that may not happen. So at this point, I decided to go with some Baneling harassment. I saw his Baneling nest going up really late, and I thought I could do a little bit of damage. But definitely with the 3 queens, it's going to be a little bit harder.
Yeah, but this could still work. I mean, I'm not really sure how it's going to go down just because, like, there's nothing to really stop the Banelings. Yeah, he does get... Yeah, I figured that was going to happen. Run by. This is a nice little attack. If anything, it's just disrupting his macro. He's getting drones. Like, I think this is definitely worth it.
Yes, you see about 4 drones killed there. I think that's going to be the total of all of them. And very little investment. He did pull off drones for mining time, and he pulled them off gas, and he's been a little bit slow to get them back on. So you see the supply to is just going farther and farther ahead.
Yeah, and like look at all the Zergling he's got left over. Those are like every one of those he didn't need. You know what I mean? You know, you might want to be left over with a couple, but that's a big batch to be left over with.
Yeah, absolutely. Now he's going for the double Evo chamber, which is something that some players choose to do. It's fallen a little bit out of favor just because the Carapace upgrade, it's okay, but it doesn't do a ton of, it's not very super effective. So, you know, you just might as well get the +2 range going and power up. Usually you want to get some infestors earlier because they start accumulating energy and they just start working out. The longer you have them, the better they are. So
yeah,
a little bit
I'm not sure why he just went and traded those lings for Banelings. He's got like a good wall going. It doesn't really make sense to like have lings sitting outside your wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely miscontrolled there and lost 2 Banelings for 2 Zerglings. But I see what you're saying. Absolutely, it's definitely not worth doing. So now we see that thirds are starting to be contested. His third was a little bit earlier, but it's just the question of does he have the units to defend it?
Yeah, he definitely does not. Yeah, you see, like he's getting these upgrades going, and I don't know. I think if he's going to take the third earlier, I would kind of pump out the extra units first just to make sure it's protected.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely need to have at least some Banelings there, just so that you don't get caught in a position where you're trying to morph Banelings as the base is starting to be harassed. So
yeah, that's true. And just not having those like little extra units, you know, you might think like making the units to protect the third. If I can get away with it without doing it, I'll be way far ahead. But the cost of losing that third, like Benji just took that third and he was expanding behind that. He made a couple extra units, but he's going to be way ahead as a result. I mean, yet, you know, sending the drone to go make another one. Look at this. Look how delayed this is. It's just going up now.
Absolutely, and this is a position that's really uncomfortable for Zerg. You just have to say, all right, I'm not going to get that third up in time. I'm just so far behind right now. I have to go do all in, because I mean, honestly, you might as well just go with your +1/+1 and just try to kill your opponent, because you know it's going to be a good 100 seconds before you catch up. So
yeah, and this is where we see like the difference of play. If you look at the drone count right now, it's 60 to 37, and we have like relatively the same thing going on, some little aggressions, but Benji is just macroing far superior to this guy, and at this point he's just so far behind this. Despite some sort of miracle, especially since you're not going infestors where lucky fungals can turn the tide of the game, he's really got nothing to come back from this at all.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's never you should never underestimate infestors in ZVZ, because like infestor energy is an economy of itself. You can be ahead in like bases, ahead in drones, but you can also just far way behind on infestor energy and be in a really awkward position.
Right.
So we see another skirmish now with infestors. At this point, the Stony Brook player is kind of on his back heels. He's trying to defend this base, but it's going to be very difficult with the amount of infestors that in play.
He's doing this little roach run by going to the third. I'm not really sure what this is going to do. Benji's got his spine set up, and I'm sure between the spine and the queen, he'll probably get some units there to defend. We'll see.
Yeah,
there go the units now. I think that's going to be fine.
It's a good call, though. I think in his position, he had no way of winning, so he's just hoping that Benji slips up or I slip up and don't have units there to defend and just lose the base. But it's really difficult in the position he's currently in.
Yeah, and at this point, he's completely screwed. he's, once the other Zerg's got the third base up and running, and you're contained to your second, that's where you're wishing you were Protoss and you had DTs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zerg just doesn't have the same options. You can try to go Spire, but that takes so long to get. You can try to go, just constant harassment, but it's really tough.
Yeah, getting behind in Zerg, I think, is one of the tougher races because Terran even they just mule so hard that they can get back into any game with just massing Marines.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice fungals. This is engagement's a walkover.
So at this point now we have about an 80 supply difference, and it's just gonna be impossible for the Zerg to recover from the Stony Brook team.
Yeah, if I was Benji, I'd start warming up the hot tub, maybe make some toast, bagels, bagels and bath.
Yep.
2Bs. I go by that. I really don't think this. I don't. At this point, I think the Zerg player is just like, I need to do what I can, or well, he's done. The cancel of shame. That's what I call that.
The cancel chain.
The cancel of shame.
Oh.
When you're just so far behind, and they just show their units and you cancel it, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The cancel of shame is when you know you've lost. Like.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, what do you do in this situation? I think it's a tournament game, so you have to stay it out. In a ladder game, you might not just say, all right, let's just start a new one. But in this situation, what do you go for? You go Nidus?
I don't. You've hit a sensitive subject. I feel very strongly about the Nidus. The Nidus has done amazing things for me. Yeah, that's what I'll say about that. I played this kid, and he's far better than me. But me and him, we have a special relationship, and we played a show match, and I Nidus his main a couple times, and I ended up winning. And now I wear the pants in our relationship, and it's been awkward since then. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, looks like this game's just about to wrap up. Tried to do 2 attacks at 2 locations. They both get kind of picked off, and it's really hard to do that multi-pronged attack when you can just get fungled and lose everything. So there we see the GG from the Stony Brook player, and Columbia takes a 1-0 victory.
Yeah. Very solid game from Benji. Very solid game, and Noel did a good job hanging in there. But when the macro started to kick in, Benji just got too far ahead.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on, Chris.
You know what? Thank you. While we were talking, I started running a bath, so I can't do that anymore.
All right. Best of luck with that, and good luck with your day tonight.
All right, nipples.
See ya.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, nipples.
All right, so let's go into Game 2 then. Game 2 is going to be a PvP on Metropolis, which is a old ladder map. And we'll see Bargak from Columbia go off against Obsidian. So you feel ready to go there, Henry?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So this is Henry Ling, our designated 2v2 player with Chris. He's a Protoss player. He's going to shed some insight on PvP. So are you ready to queue up the replay?
Yeah, I got the replay.
All right, so let's start it in 3, 2, 1. And why don't we announce the players? So why don't you go ahead and up top?
Up top, we have the pink Protoss, Bargak from Columbia University.
Absolutely. And up bottom, we have Obsidian, the teal Protoss from Stony Brook. And right away, we see some shenanigans.
We do. We see a probe going across the map from Bargak. Looks like either Cannon Rush or Proxigate.
And that was his first probe, actually, one of his first 6. So he's going to definitely be looking to do one of those 2 things you just mentioned. So what do you think? If he was going to go Cannon Rush, do you think you'd send out the first probe and proxy the Forge, or what's more common?
Yeah, this is actually like a really strong map for Cannon Rushes. It's kind of like Metalopolis from like the really old days, that you can just like cannon from the low ground and hit the minerals, but it looks like it's going to be a Proxigate based on the position of the pylon.
Oh, gotcha. So interesting choice. This map actually was taken on the ladder rotation for issues causing lag.
Yeah.
It was just so big. I think there's just so many big and so many features that it was lagging people's computers.
Yeah, basically, pretty much. First gate coming out for Bargak, and that was a 9 gate.
So double 9 gate, is that the standard proxy gate?
I'm not a big proxy gator, so I can't really say for sure. But I think that's a really good call though. I think 10 gates standard, but since this is such a huge map, I think getting an earlier gate is the better choice. And now we see Obsidian's probe looking around, trying to see if there's anything going on.
Well, that's very crazy. I have no idea why he'd scout like that. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of unusual, but it looks like he found the two gateways of Bargak. So
his response, he cancels gas, drop a second gateway himself.
Yeah, that's exactly what you should be doing. And I think that with proper pro control and zealot control, he should be able to hold this off, but we'll have to see.
Absolutely. So we see Bargak stopped NL probes. He's just making zealots now, crawling them out. He'll have his first zealot out in just a moment.
Yeah. This map was in the ladder pool for such a short amount of time that I really have no idea what this is going to be like, but I'm not so sure about this distance going from the third to the main. We'll have to see about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. If he had proxied it in base, maybe up top, it's just, how would you get a probe in there? It's just, I think Bargak decided that this was going to be the best position that would most likely not get scouted. And it's very unusual that the player did scout it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this was the best position to put it in, though, and now we have a small fight going on. One zealot and one probe versus one zealot and one probe. Pretty even so far.
Even so far, we see a 6 probe advantage for the player from Stony Brook, so as long as he holds this aggression without taking a ton of probe kills, he's just going to be so far ahead.
Yeah, here's a small fight going on. Zealot numbers are 3 for 3, but a lot more pros on the Stony Brook player side. And looks like they're just going to dance back and forth until they get a few more zealots out, get those shields generating.
So what do you like to do in this situation if you get the proxy? Do you try to get gas, or you just keep pumping out zealots?
You keep pumping out zealots. Sometimes you get crazy players that add more gateways and probe up behind it, so you gotta make sure that you just barely match their count and just pull probes just to kill zealots. But it looks like now Bargak has a huge disadvantage in terms of zealots. Yeah,
absolutely. He lost 2 there, so now he's 2 behind, and he's just 2 gate against 2 gate. He'll never catch up.
Yeah. Excuse me.
And at this point, with only 9 or 10 probes, he's unable to maintain constant probe production. So
yeah,
let's see here. I think it's just going to be a really tough game for Bargak to come out of.
Looks like Bargak is just going to go for probes now. I think he's seen as well that he's probably not going to win a straight up fight, so he's going to just try to go for the economy. But now he's trying to run around. Yeah, looks like he's scouting now with the zealots. And meanwhile, in Bargak's base, we see a pylon going down by Obsidian.
Yeah, very interesting. Decided to put one of his pylons in there. Definitely be useful for warp gates later.
Yeah.
But she'll see. So Bargak catching up a little bit in the probe count, but his zealot count is just so far behind. He'll never be able to deal with those zealots. He'll have stalkers extraordinarily late, and I think the Protoss player from Stony Brook is just going to walk over and deal with those proxy barracks.
I completely agree.
Looks like Bargak going to try to get a stalker out now, which would be very helpful, but at the same time, it's just a little too late.
Yeah, sometimes getting an extra stalker, having 1 or 2 stalkers over your opponent even, can be a huge difference. But Obsidian's core is already up, and we'll have to see how many units he's able to get out in this time.
Yeah, it was very smart for Bargak to skip warp gate, get fast stalker there early. He's going to do a lot of damage to these zealots. Might get 1 or 2, but 2 zealots are going to come out for the Stony Brook Protoss, so he's going to be back in rough shape. Actually, he's going to be pushed all the way home, I think, and those proxy barracks or gateways are just going to be so exposed.
Yeah, I imagine that. I was thinking he might just go for the gateways, but instead I think he's just going to attack, knowing he has a huge army. Yeah, definitely. All these zealots are going to be picked off by this one stalker, and then with this pylon still in his base, I'm not sure how Bargak is going to hold this off.
No, it's going to be definitely way too difficult. Bargak's caught up in probes, so if he can hold it off somehow, he will be able to play just a normal game, but those gateways are just so exposed, and he's just going to have to deal with 7 zealots against 0, so
yeah.
Took a risk, seemed like it didn't work out this game, but not a huge deal.
I think it was a good risk to take, though. It's best of 5 series, so mixing up best cheese here and there for your team is pretty good. It just didn't happen to work out for him this time.
Absolutely. So we see probably just a GG any moment now. These gates are going to be empowered, or this gate's going to be empowered, and the probes are just going to get picked off one by one.
Yep.
Bargak still making stalkers down here, but he can't actually bring them back home. So good game from Bargak.
Yep.
Series now tied 1-1. And we'll go on to the 2v2. So third match will be a 2v2. And thanks for joining us, Henry. We'll get on with the Matt Soik now.
Thank you.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
it is good. How are you?
Good, good. Ready to cast a little 2v2?
Yeah. Alright, one sec. Alright.
Ready to go?
About to be. Loading up.
Alrighty.
Alright, good to go when you are.
Perfect. So we got a 2v2 on Citadel of Gaia, one of the IC Cup maps. So let's get it going in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, do you want to announce the players in the upper right-hand corner there, Matt?
Alright, yep. In the top middle, we've got our Zerg player. It's wait. Why does it say Benji for me?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I definitely don't have the right map.
Oh, okay. All right,
I'm
let's
trying to figure this out.
let's reset it.
Again. I hope I have the right one.
Sorry about that. Let me.
I mean, it's not your fault. All right, no, I got the right one. I think.
Just make sure it's on the right map.
Let's see.
It should be Citadel
Yeah,
of
we're
Gaia.
good, we're good.
Okay.
All right.
So
Ready?
3.
3,
two,
2, 1, go.
All right. So let's try that again. So up in the upper right-hand corner, who we have, Matt?
All right. On the left, we've got our orange Protoss, Animastus. And on the right,
We've got Chris Musashi, who's playing Zerg. And the bottom left.
bottom left, we have Stony Brook's Evolution, the teal Protoss. And the bottom middle,
We got Hyperion, the Protoss from Stony Brook. So we got a Protoss Terran versus Protoss Zerg on a very, very macro favored map. 2 bases inside, connected by a ramp. Definitely easy game to go early expansion on.
yeah, for sure.
And even in Protoss Terran, would you agree with the fact that it's very easy just for the Zerg to go 15 hatch most of the time on most maps?
Yeah, against Protoss Terran, I would say on most maps you can almost always 15 hatch anyway. So on this map, it's like almost a must, because if you don't 15 hatch, you won't be able to do any. I mean, it's not a must, but you won't do any damage with Zerglings. It's just not going to happen.
Right. Definitely easy to wall off, get a Marine out, get a couple or get one Zealot out, and just block.
Yeah, and you see Evolution not walling off with his pylon, but if he did, which you can't predict, then nothing would be able to get in. So
Absolutely.
I don't like the positioning of that pylon by Evolution, I do want to point out. But, I mean, I guess he knows that the Zerg isn't going to be aggressive, so he can get away with it.
Now, do you like to see it close to the Nexus so that he can protect it with probes a little bit better?
Yeah, either right next to the Nexus or at the ramp. I don't see any reason to just throw it out there a little bit. But it's okay. I'm sure he'll be fine.
Absolutely.
For example, Henry's SimCity. A lot more favorable.
Yeah, and it definitely it does matter. I mean, Henry's a lot farther ahead as far as his economy's going.
If you look at the production.
But we got a 15 hatch coming from the Zerg player, and we see 2 gas coming before core from the Protoss.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to be strong tech, probably off 1 base. The other possibility is just go for a little bit higher of a sentry count and take an expansion. But I definitely predict some sort of DT, Stargate, or Robo coming pretty soon. Probably off 1 gateway.
Absolutely.
If he gets his probes in the gases. If he doesn't, I don't know. We'll see.
A little slow there. He's gotten 2 in each. Not sure you think that's probably intentional?
I think it actually is intentional. Now I'm leaning towards fast expansion, because you can go for an expansion off 2 guys in each gas, and then you'll go for just a higher sentry count in the mid game.
Absolutely. And that may be the case because we have a command center coming out before the barracks for the Terran player. So he's got no gas, just going heavy econ,
Oh wow, they're both going to go heavy econ then if this guy throws on the expansion. We'll see.
It's a good call on this map. I mean, it's definitely an easy map to go. You know, with just a couple of sentries, you can wall off for a very, very long time the entire entrance to the base.
Yep, that's true.
So we see this probe just scouting around Henry's base. He's going to have a stalker around very quickly to clean that up. Looks like Henry's going for like a 3-stalker. Trying to get some stalkers out just to do a little poke and harass a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see if I can do some damage.
And Chris looks like he's going to go for speed, a little bit behind getting it, or maybe just planning to accumulating some gas for roaches.
Mm-hmm.
We see these guys are going into hyper defensive mode, getting a bunker up. See, he's just getting stalkers, ready to drop his nexus.
Do you think we'll see a Baneling Nest from Chris soon, seeing that he's mining a little bit extra gas?
That might be just because he's planning on not expanding.
Okay.
If you're not planning on expanding for a little bit, you just have enough mineral production or enough mineral resource gathering that you can continue to get gas.
Okay, so he's gonna go for a quick layer then.
Yes, most likely.
Alright, sounds good.
I mean, also if you were planning on taking a third, you would pull him off gas so you could have the surplus resources based on your you have more minerals accumulating than you were producing or capable of producing. So. Looks like
assuming we'll see a layer any second here then, like Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we see Henry's stalkers coming out to the front. Maybe just try to poke on some zealots a little bit.
Oh.
Check to see the bunker, and he exits right away. Oh. At this moment, they got to be thinking, hey, they're just going hard macro. They've seen the command center. They've seen the bunker.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not worried about any type of all-in at all right now, at least. That's why we see Chris going up to his 4 gases, taking a layer, and Henry almost being done with his expansion, throwing down the robo facility.
Yep.
That way he can both tech and be economical at the same time.
Excellent play, and I think going 2-base infestor is just extremely safe and will protect them against most everything that would come. Especially on this map with such a long rush distance and such a wide open area, like a good push should be like Sentry, Immortal Siege Tank. I think they'll handle that quite well as long as they continue to hold the watchtowers and continue to have vision of what could come. But we see the Terran player going for heavy bio, having stim, 3 racks, and just powering up hard.
Yeah, siege tanks seem like they could be really strong on this map. It's open. It looks openish, but there are a lot of there's a lot of terrain like in the middle, like the trees and like cliffs and stuff. So there's a lot of funneling. We'll see if the Terran decides to go for him. He's going for tanks. He's got a lot of Marines to back it up. We could see with 2 reactors on the barracks, but yeah, we'll definitely see some tank play.
But excellent scouting from the Columbia team. They got full vision of what's going on. Just sacrificed an Overlord there. Saw the 3rd CC going up. And we see Henry going for a quick Colossus, which is a great call. I mean, they're going to have a really strong army. They're taking no risks.
Yep.
And from the Protoss player on the Stony Brook team, we see Blink going down, as well as the Robo, which is interesting. What do you think about Blink as opposed to going just quick into Colossus?
In a team game, I don't like it as much because I mean, sure he has like 5 stalkers, and later in the game, it is nice to have Blink to like help your Colossus. But Blink by itself, it's just not going to cut it against a Protoss.
Absolutely. I mean, when you get behind in the robotics or the Colossus count, how are you going to catch up? I mean, when you start to get like 3-4 Colossus, they're just going to decimate all the stalkers. And with the support of Lings, especially infestors that can block Blink from happening, it's going to be a really ugly situation.
Yeah. I mean, the Blink stalkers will be able to deal with Colossus like up until like 2 or 3 because they can blink on them and they're decent against armored units, so they can pick off the Colossus pretty easily. But yeah, with infestor like support, and if Henry just doesn't attack with 3, waits until like 7, it's like there's absolutely nothing that the Stony Brook team will be able to do.
So we can look at the units count now. We see a heavy probe advantage from the Protoss player from Columbia, Henry, going about
Chris, yeah.
20, and then the drone advantage. The drone advantage is a little offset by the fact that the guy's got 3 overall commands dropping mules.
That's true.
But they know that they're not getting another base, and they actually have Burrow, which is extremely smart.
Yeah, that was a good play by Chris.
A little funny in this map. If they really wanted to go for the minerals, they could, but I can't imagine that would be very useful. But Chris going for his third now. It's about almost done. Henry also going for a third. And this base, they're really safe, right? I mean, they have Infestors, they got Colossus. Anything that would come would be cleaned up pretty well with just the combination of Fungal Growth and Colossus going to town.
Yep, it's a great time for them to take their expansions.